name is Anne Russell. I'm the founder of the Russell Family Fetal Alcohol Disorders Association, and I've been asked to prepare a video on FASD. What exactly is it? How does it manifest in people? I'm going to try and keep this video down to under 10 minutes because it can get a little unwieldy when people have so little time. So in terms of what causes fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, it's prenatal alcohol exposure, and that means it means when mum who's pregnant uses alcohol, it goes directly through the placenta and into the fetus. So alcohol is water soluble. It crosses the placenta, and the alcohol content, if, for example, if mum is 0.05, the baby will be 0.05 or higher, because the baby only has a very small liver, whereas our liver is quite large. So it takes us 1 hour to metabolise 1 unit of alcohol. It will take the fetus much longer. So alcohol disrupts the cells in the fetus. It causes it's called a whole of body condition. The primary issues that we'll see are cognitive, though. Occasionally there's an intellectual disability. People with an IQ of under 70 will have access to services quickly, and that's a good thing. Whereas if the child or the individual has the cognitive impairment but a normal IQ, it will take doctors a lot longer to identify FASD, if they ever do. Unfortunately, the medical professionals in Australia are more likely to diagnose autism in people with a normal IQ and just intellectual disability in those people with an IQ lower than 70 points. So it's very hard to diagnose early on. It's only when usually the parents identify behaviours that are not typical, or there's a global developmental delay before age 6, and then the diagnosis comes later. Again, it's more likely to be diagnosed as ADHD, autism, oppositional defiant disorder, reactive attachment disorder, global developmental delay, any number, schizophrenia even, bipolar, personality disorders like borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder. So there's a lot of things that are more likely to be diagnosed than FASD. The problem with that is that the supports needed for a person with FASD are not necessarily the supports that you would give someone with ADHD or autism. There must be an accurate diagnosis to be able to provide the right sort of support to the child. Now, I always recommend that if you think that your child might have FASD, you implement FASD-friendly parenting strategies and interventions and accommodations. It's not going to hurt people who are neurotypical, but it will enormously help children who have the cognitive impairment associated with FASD. So how does that manifest? In babies, newborns, or babies, it might be that they cry for no apparent reason. Very difficult to settle. There may be some seizure disorder that accompanies FASD. Might be low birth weight. They'll have a high-pitched cry that's sort of very shaky. There may be some sensory issues there. In a toddler, it could be not meeting milestones. It could be the same with the baby as well, not meeting milestones. Behaviour that's very challenging. It could be that that toddlers won't respond to the normal parenting techniques, reward and punishment, natural justice, that sort of thing. As the child gets older, academic abilities come into play. That's usually one of the domains that's affected. children are often socially isolated. They believe that acquaintances are their best buddies. You'll find that they'll make friends but not be able to keep them. And then as we get to puberty, there could be a precocious puberty. So puberty could start anywhere from, well, very early, but you're 10, 11, 12, that sort of thing, or even earlier. But girls won't be able to manage their menstrual periods. They won't be able to manage pads and tampons and that sort of thing. Boys will... you'll see changes in challenging behaviour with both genders, both sexes. So you'll find, aggression maybe as a response to certain requirements of the family. They won't be able to undertake their chores. Parents will notice behaviours are just not what you would call typical. And they will also notice that things like natural justice, tough love, time out, those things don't work. Saying that you will take the kids to water park on Saturday if they behave even on Friday, that won't work either. Children with FASD they're very much in the now. So whatever's happening right now is what's important to them. Anything that might happen tomorrow or the next day or the next week is just not going to impact on them at all. And then teenagers and adults, they'll be able to get a job. They speak very well, and it's really very difficult to understand why they're not able to do certain things. I just have to qualify here. FASD is on a spectrum. I'm talking about probably the middle. The most severe end it'll be obvious there's a disability. The least severe end, it will not be obvious. And these people between here and here, these people will find life the most difficult. So they have very good expressive language. By now, they've acquired the ability to look like they understand what you're talking about, but they really don't. They may understand every third word. They may they can say, yes, I want to do this. I want to take this course of action, and then there'll be no follow-up. So they'll be able to get a job because they'll be able to say, yes, I want to do this. I've done it before. Whatever the employer needs, but they're unlikely to be able to get out of probation. And this is why they will have multiple jobs until their mental health starts to suffer. And that usually happens in school, by the way, where they're treated as though they're neurotypical, but they're not. And it's not a matter of won't do things, it's a matter of can't do things. So in school, if a child was in a wheelchair, they would be given accommodations like a ramp and a special desk and lots of accommodations by the teachers and by the school itself. A child with a cognitive impairment whose disability is not evident will be punished. And basically, our kids with FASD will be basically punished all their lives. If mum's an alcoholic, it's likely she'd be taken away from the family by child safety. By well-meaning child safety staff, it's the system that's messed up and that causes more damage than anything else that I've heard of. It's unlikely the child will be diagnosed with the appropriate diagnosis. What happens is the parents usually do their research. They think about what it could possibly be. They research Google. They make a couple of ideas. They get a couple of ideas. Then they contact the likes of me or somebody else to talk about whether or not it could be this condition. If they talk to their medical professional, it's unlikely they will get a positive response because doctors seem to be very, very reluctant to diagnose FASD. They're very reluctant, and I'm a birth mum. I have 2 children and 2 grandchildren with FASD, and I can tell you, if any medical professionals happen to be watching this, that I would rather have an accurate diagnosis so that I know my child will get the support he needs than then not to upset me. I know what I would prefer, and every other birth parent I've ever spoken to is the same. So that is FASD in a nutshell. I think I might have gone over 10 minutes. I'm sorry. If you need any support, or if you believe that your child might have FASD, have a look for the Russell Family Fetal Alcohol Disorders Association on the website or Facebook, and get in touch with us. Thank you.